Welcome to this fast-paced, science-driven explainer. Today we're unpacking the Peptide Proof Report. This is a data-rich, authoritative, and completely evidence-based look at the industry. We are skipping the marketing fluff and looking straight at where cutting-edge peptide science literally meets real-world application. From the chemical hurdles to the massive market shifts happening right now in skincare and bioengineering, we are covering the whole shebang.
Okay, let's jump right into the data. And honestly, this first number completely redefines consumer interest. We're looking at a massive 459% spike in TikTok searches specifically for peptide therapy projected for 2026. This is definitely not just some passing social media fad. It's a huge signal that everyday consumers are waking up and actively demanding science-backed ingredients.
And, it's a cross-platform explosion. This search growth isn't isolated to just one younger demographic on one app. Google searches are up 281%, Instagram is up 412%, and yeah, TikTok is leading the charge at 459%. This marks a completely irreversible trend in beauty and aesthetics. Consumers are doing their homework and educating themselves on peptide science.
So, what does this all mean for the industry? Well, all this consumer curiosity is driving some very serious financial realities. We're currently looking at a staggering $3.2 billion cosmetic peptide market, and it's growing at a really robust 12% annually. But here's the catch. To sustain that kind of rapid growth, you need real, measurable results, not just a clever ad campaign.
Right, so what is the actual star ingredient fueling this boom? Meet GHK-Cu, which you probably know as the copper peptide complex. Now, surprisingly, this was actually discovered way back in the 1970s, making it one of the most thoroughly researched peptides in existence. And its biological mechanisms are incredibly clear. It promotes collagen synthesis, accelerates wound healing, and acts as a seriously potent antioxidant.
Now to really get the hype, we have to compare GHK-Cu to the long-standing heavy hitter of anti-aging, which is retinol. Retinol is the traditional gold standard for sure. But if you've ever used it, you know all about the high potential for irritation, peeling, and redness. GHK-Cu acts as a much gentler alternative with extremely low irritation. The trade-off here is just patience. It typically takes about 4 to 8 weeks for visible collagen buildup. But if you have sensitive skin, completely avoiding that retinol burn makes the wait entirely worth it.
But hold on a second. Before we declare copper peptides a miracle cure, there is a massive scientific roadblock we have to talk about. The skin's natural permeability barrier is incredibly effective at its job, which is keeping things out. Because of this, the actual efficacy of these peptides is often limited to a tiny 1 to 5% of the applied dose. Think about it. You can buy the most expensive premium ingredient in the world, but if it can't actually penetrate the skin, it literally can't do its job.
Which brings us to the second major hurdle, and that's stability. Copper peptides are incredibly fragile. They are essentially surrounded by environmental enemies at all times. In plain old water, they slowly degrade. Hit them with high heat or light, that degradation accelerates rapidly. And the absolute worst offender is mixing them with conflicting acidic ingredients, which causes complete chemical inactivation.
This intense fragility is exactly why modern skincare brands are having to engineer some incredibly clever solutions. The Peptide Proof Report highlights a perfect example of this with the newly launched Complete CKYN protocol. This is a USA-made, dedicated 3-step copper peptide system focused entirely on natural anti-aging, and it's designed from the ground up to protect those fragile active ingredients. So instead of just selling you a single vulnerable serum, CKYN controls the entire environment. Step 1 cleanses and prepares the skin to the exact right pH. Step 2 delivers the core copper peptide serum, and Step 3 moisturizes to seal all those actives in. By controlling this entire microenvironment, they effectively solve those harsh chemical compatibility issues we just went over.
Researchers actually call this controlled routine the golden partner effect, which I love. When you pair GHK-Cu with the exact right carriers, you absolutely maximize its efficacy. It completely eliminates the risk of you accidentally mixing a conflicting acid from your morning routine with your evening peptide cream. It shields the GHK-Cu from degrading in the wrong pH, guaranteeing that the peptide actually survives to rebuild your skin.
And CKYN's system is really just the tip of the iceberg here. As the report clearly outlines, we are witnessing an industry-wide boom. Peptides are rapidly transitioning from being this niche, highly unstable raw material into the core identity of major skincare brands. They're expanding out of the dermatologist's office and right into our daily care routines. And thankfully, because of formulation innovation, those high price barriers are finally coming down. Let's look at how this is playing out across different markets. For instance, clinical-grade brands like Zeo Skin Health are engineering serums specifically to bridge the gap. They recently launched a clinic-exclusive peptide peeling serum that is designed perfectly to sit right between post-procedure medical treatments and your at-home daily maintenance.
Then, on the completely flip side of the market, Kenvue's Neutrogena is aggressively pushing peptides into the mass consumer space. With their new Collagen Bank line, they're utilizing patented micropeptide technology. Now, this is a massive shift. They are taking what used to be a premium, fragile ingredient and making these scientific breakthroughs accessible to the everyday consumer right there at the drugstore.
And we absolutely can't ignore the global picture. The massive South Korean beauty sector is aggressively driving this consumer education too. K-beauty giant COSRX has entered the chat with their blue peptide Bakuchiol Plump Glow Serum. By blending peptides with Bakuchiol, which is another gentle active, they are pioneering this brand new concept centered around skin longevity, targeting users who want long-term sustainable skin health rather than harsh, immediate peeling. Okay, but here is what I personally find absolutely fascinating in this report. This science extends far beyond your bathroom sink. This exact same peptide technology is scaling up into clinical medicine. We are seeing the rise of peptide biomaterials, things like self-assembling hydrogels and nanofibers. Because of their predictability, they are actually entering clinical use for hemostasis and severe wound healing, providing much safer alternatives for human tissue engineering.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather provocative question based on the data we've covered today. As these specialized protocols and systems successfully crack the code on both stability and skin permeability, are we watching the permanent end of the retinol era? Will the low irritation, highly effective nature of copper peptides completely replace legacy ingredients in our daily routines? It is an incredibly exciting shift in biochemical engineering, and definitely a space we will be watching very closely. Thanks for diving into the science with me today.